Manifestation Pod. We are Louise and Sam, two ordinary mums living extraordinary lives through friendship, self-improvement, manifestation, the law of attraction, and a little bit of the magic. We look forward to you joining us on our fortnightly podcast. Good morning. Welcome to episode 1 of our new podcast called the Manifestation Pod. So the first thing I was going to talk about is why we're doing it. Why are we doing this podcast, Sam?
It's a really good question. Well, I think it's the inspiration of what we've both manifested lately in all our lives and all the self-development that we're going through. I think the main inspiration was like the end of the summer holidays last year, wasn't it? When we were talking about how we're doing all this stuff in self-development and manifestation, but we've got no one except each other to share it with.
That is absolutely true. And I actually remember that conversation. Now you've said it, I remember where we were. We were in the monkey forest in Stoke with the kids. And it was a really warm day. It was a lovely day, actually. It was right at the back end of the summer holidays. And we started talking about, I think I asked you something about, I'd been reading something about the law of attraction, and I'd kind of, even though I've always followed the law of attraction, not really picked it up for a while. And I'd read something, or I spoke to you about it, and you were like, oh my God, let me tell you this has been happening, this has been happening. I was like, wow, why have we not been talking about this for ages? And that's kind of how it not started, but got reintroduced. Because I think we talked about it at the very start of our friendship, and we've always kind of like dipped in and out of it. I think that day really, really kind of put it at the forefront of both our minds and made us go, yeah, we've got each other to talk about this. Like, let's do more, let's read more. And then you introduced me to another podcast, which really kind of got me on a path, I think the word is. Is that the same for you?
Yeah. And I remember actually that day I was going somewhere that evening that I didn't really want to go to. I was going on my own, and I remember you said, just go and make your mission to find someone that teaches you something about the law of attraction or tells you something about it. And like that totally transformed that night, because all I did was just seek out people that were like developing their lives or were like magnetic. And even if they were like into the law of attraction, they'd lived a life where they'd like attracted so much anyway. So clearly they were living by the values of it without even knowing it. And that was like a real eye-opener.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, I remember you. I remember where, well, I don't remember where you were going, but I know you were going on your own.
Yeah.
And you were nervous about it. I remember that. I remember just saying like, oh, just, we've talked about this all day. We're both like vibing really high that day. And you met someone there, didn't you? Didn't you meet a guy who was like really inspirational and told you like his entire life story?
Yeah. And he'd lived this like really fortunate life. Just from like birth and then beyond. And what was really interesting about it was that I think scarcity of money and fear had never been a feature in his life. And that was just like, well, that is so law of attraction. You know, if you don't think about those things and live in those thoughts, then of course you're going to attract all the opposite of that, aren't you? Of course you're going to live an abundant, happy life because you're not thinking about money or fear or lack.
Exactly. Well, you're expecting it, aren't you? You expect, if you expect to live this charmed life with nothing going wrong, that's exactly what you'll get. And do you know what? I can relate to that because I think money particularly. So, I mean, I've just realised we've not introduced ourselves. So I'm Louise, this is Sam. And on the side of this, I'm a money coach. And years ago, I lived a life of abundance. I never worried about money at all. It just always, even when things were like not great, I'd just go, oh, it'll be fine. And it always was. And actually, the only time it wasn't was when I came out of that, and I went through like a really bad patch when I split up with my husband years ago. So it was like mentally draining and financially draining. And that was the first time in my life that I felt a real lack of money. And that then became a vicious circle of I've got no money. And then that just carried on happening for probably about a year, where I just felt poor. And the more I felt poor, the more I was poor. And I had like the worst run of luck with money. And I was just thinking, oh my God, I've always been this really lucky person where people have said, oh, she always lands on her feet. She always comes up smelling of roses. And then suddenly I wasn't that person. I felt like this victim, and that was awful. That's a horrible kind of mindset to get out of. And I think that really proves the law of attraction works. And, you know, positive thoughts lead to positive action and positive lives, because that's so true.
It is, you're right. And we should say, like, the podcast's not going to be all about law of attraction, is it? It's not all about money. It's all like, it's abundance in general and self-development and everything that us as mums of kids, like both in our like later stages of life, shall we say, and how you like turn around a lifetime of not living at a high vibe all the time, you know, and how that fits in with like family life, school runs, just everything. How, you know, there's so much we want to talk about.
There is. So I wrote, you're so right, it's not just about the law of attraction at all. And I think probably the last, I don't know, 4 months, all the reading I'm doing, none of it's been about the law of attraction. It's all kind of touched on it. It's all in that same kind of vague area. I don't know what you call this whole, in the bookshop, there's a section called Smart Thinking, which is all the books that I read are kind of in that section. But it's more than that. It's like, it's a bit of a holistic lifestyle, isn't it, really? Where there's lots of different things. You know, we talk about, and I think me and you are different in that some things I probably follow a bit more than you do, and some things you kind of live by a bit more than I do, but we're usually in the same ballpark with things. But I was thinking about some of the things that me and you have tried. Like, you're the only person that I can say, oh, should we do this? And I know you'll be up for it. So we did something called, do you remember when we did that trauma yoga? I mean, that was a bit bonkers. It was kind of good though, because something happened in it. I don't know if anyone out there has ever experienced. Was it called trauma yoga?
No, it's got a special name, hasn't it? It's basically where like they tap into your kind of nervous system in it and make you like uncontrollably shake, which sounds bonkers, but it was amazing, wasn't it?
It was amazing in the fact that you just lay in a certain position, and she said in a few minutes your legs will start shaking, and you won't be able to stop it. And that happened. That was like, it was just bizarre. I also remember her saying, this may make you cry. And I remember saying in this group of people, but I don't want to cry. I didn't come to cry. I'm in quite a good mood. But I didn't cry. I can't remember if anyone did cry. Can you remember?
I think some people did, yeah.
No.
It was, yeah. But yeah, like trying things like that out with each other. And yeah, we should probably introduce like how our friendship started actually, as we're in introductory mode, shouldn't we?
Yes. Let's do that. Do you want to do that? Do you want to start?
I shall start. So it all started in IKEA. All places.
Got to love IKEA.
I know, one of our favourite places on earth now. So our daughters were born within 2 weeks of each other, almost 10 years ago now. Within those first few weeks, we both sought out a baby group in our local area, which was then Ashton-under-Lyne in Greater Manchester. And the best one in the area was at IKEA, and it was an NCT group actually, but I wasn't a member of NCT and I wasn't even breastfeeding. But I just wanted to get out and see people and have meatballs at IKEA.
I forgot about that. Yeah, you joined the breastfeeding group. Brilliant.
Oh, I was just looking for connection, and then I think within like the first week or two of being at that, we met each other, didn't we? And I just feel like we were inseparable since. And we had
definitely.
Yeah, had the best mat leave together, didn't we?
My God, yeah, the mat leave was amazing. I think because the babies were born in April, kind of springtime. I just remember it having great weather. I don't remember, I don't know, it's funny what you think about, but I can only remember like good weather during our mat leave. I'm sure it must have rained, you know, at least a handful of times. We live in Manchester, for God's sake. But yeah, it was just really nice. I just remember long days out, having coffee. I remember eating a lot of cake. I remember walking loads because I think I used to walk to Ashton to IKEA, which is like it's like a 3-mile walk with a buggy. Yeah, it was a really happy time. I always look back on that as feeling really content during mat leave. And I think we forget how lucky we are and how unusual that is, because a lot of people that I speak to have quite a lonely maternity leave, especially recently with COVID. But we didn't at all. We lived our best lives on our mat leave, because so we were a part of a wider group of people where sometimes we did things with each other and sometimes we did things with kind of the group or bits of people in the group as well. But I think me and you just bonded on, I don't know, we're just very similar, aren't we, really? And we both had jobs in the public sector, and we both had opinions on that and how we both worked with a lot of red tape and not a lot of common sense at the time in the job I was in and the job you were in. And yeah, we just kind of bonded, and it was just very easy, wasn't it, really? And it always has been.
Yeah, it was, yeah. And when we looked back on it, when we've been like planning for this the last few weeks, we were thinking about how like actually the law of attraction and growth and finding a more abundant life for both of us was even there then, even in like the sleepless nights and madness. Like, remember how we both didn't want to go back to work, so we created like a baby quilt making business.
Yeah, I do remember that. Thinking we could sell enough to give up our jobs, which obviously never happened. But I remember as well, and it's interesting because you talking of going back to work, it's funny how, people say things, how many conversations we have, not just me and you, but like we have with the whole world in the 10-year period. And one thing that you said to me about going back to work was make it count. And that, bizarrely, is the name of my business, because you were saying that if you're going back to work and you really don't want to be there, you've got to be there. Unless you can give up your job, you've got to leave your child and you've got to go back to work. So rather than spending your first day crying and wishing you were with your child, which I actually did, make it count, like find the positives in work. And the first positive I found, and probably only somebody who's had a year on mat leave will even relate to or remember, is having a hot cup of tea. Like starting work, having a hot cup of tea, drinking it while it was hot, not worrying about where they left it, is it near the baby, just sitting on my own and having a cup of tea and drinking it. That was like the first, they say it's the small things. That was like the first small thing that I was like, wow, it's not all bad being away from her. It has got some perks, and that really resonated with me. And I thought, I am going to make it count. I'm in work. So I decided I thought, while I'm in work, I'm not going to sit here being sad. I'm not even going to think about her. She's fine. She's being looked after. I'm just going to get on with it and like have the best day that I can. And that really stuck with me. And that I've always kind of had that mindset anyway, but that really cemented it in my mind and gave it a title of always do that, always live your best life and make it count wherever you are or whatever you're doing. And I think me and you both follow that massively.
We do. And like you said before, like we've always done it naturally, but probably just not as consciously as we're doing it now. Those times.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've just kind of gone along with it and not called it anything. You're right, consciously is exactly what it was. We've just done it without labeling it or thinking about it. But I think the more we've labeled it and thought about it, the more we've delved into other things and other areas. So I don't know, one thing, and this is a tiny thing, but one thing that I've done over the last kind of 4 months is, I don't know, read a book on decluttering and decluttered my house, and that's made such a difference to my headspace at home. I mean, we could probably have a whole episode talking about decluttering, but it's made a huge difference. And I think because of mine and your friendship and the things we talk about. I think we both feed off each other, and we talk about all these things, and that leads to us kind of exploring other opportunities and other things that we might not have thought about before. And some work and some don't, but some of them really enhance your life. And that decluttering for me is one of them that I would never have got into had you not recommended the podcast that we listened to, and then started reading all these different books. So yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah, and there's loads of things like that over the years, isn't there, that like will probably feature in future podcasts, just like little nuggets that we've taken from each other or that we've discovered together as we've talked over the years. And then like those little nuggets have completely transformed our lives in loads of different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is definitely a podcast episode in itself, but I'm in the process of moving house at the moment, and I was thinking about this the other night. Had I not decluttered when I did, then the house wouldn't be in the state that it's in. State's the wrong word. In a good place to be marketed by an estate agent. So when I saw a house for sale that I really wanted, and at the market near me at the moment is ridiculous, they just go really quickly, I was able to ring an estate agent and go, I want my house to go on the market. And he said, when can I see it? And I was literally like, you can come round now. And then we arranged for the photos to be done 3 days later, whereas before that would have been impossible. It would have taken me, honestly, I would have had to book like a week off work to get it into any kind of state where it was suitable for people to come round. So the tiny steps, isn't it? You do something thinking this will enhance my life, and it enhances it in a day-to-day way. But then also it enhances the bigger picture as well, and kind of builds towards the life that you want to lead.
Yeah, it kind of makes space for it, doesn't it? And then it like all flows in as soon as you make space for it. Like, and there's loads more that goes into that we'll get into another time, isn't there?
Yeah,
but once you've like made space and you're like really following the stuff that brings you joy, so much stuff, good stuff just flows in.
Oh wow, yeah.
Just so much. And remember when I like moved out of Manchester and now I live my dream life in the country.
I know. And what's weird about that, when we were talking about doing this podcast and we were talking about like what we've manifested, I was literally like,
can't quite think of anything. And then we're like, oh, actually.
You've done this massive thing. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, you've absolutely done that. And to be honest, that came into my mind more than anything that I've done. I had to really think about mine. And I think I've got like, I don't know, lots and lots and lots of little things that kind of lead to a big transformation. Whereas you just did the big thing straight away. And you know, you're living the dream, but you quantify that really easily by this is where I was, this is where I am now. Yeah, that's a huge one. We'll definitely need to talk about like how you got from where you were, and also when I say where you were, like the mindset of where you were as well, and just how unhappy you were to where you are now. Like, yeah, living your dream in the country, going out for coffees during the week, and yeah, that's so inspirational and aspirational. That's exactly. Yeah, and also I think what's interesting or will be interesting about our podcast is we're not too like, I can't dress this up. People will notice listening to this podcast. You're the articulate one. I spend like 15 words trying to say something, and you say 2 words and get to the point straight away. But yeah, we're not two social media influencers who are always on the internet and we've got loads of people sponsoring us and making money. That isn't how we've manifested our dream life. We're like normal people who don't do any of that, who don't look like your typical influencers, and that isn't how we've got to where we are. We're very normal people, and very normal people can do what we've done to get to where you want to be, and I think that's really important.
Yeah, and that's why we want to share it as well, isn't it? Because like, if we can get away with it, we don't even want to put any of this on social media. We just both just hate it with a fiery passion, and there's so much more good stuff in life than that. But we know that's going to have to be, you know, an evil that we get stuck into to find people. But yeah, it's just like that. I think at the heart of this for me is wanting to share what we've learned and what you can achieve from very little under like difficult circumstances, you know, young families, like busy jobs, busy lives, still not like achieved everything we want to achieve. We've still got so many dreams we want to achieve, but because we're both achieving so much through using these processes and this development that we're doing, like it's criminal not to share it with more people of our age in similar circumstances to
absolutely
help them get on the path as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because it's not, I know if you like Google, like, you know, how to live the life you want, there's millions of courses out there that you can do, but it's all very, you can get followers on social media, you can do this, you can do that. But yeah, we're so not about that. We're just about having a normal life and still living that dream that you want and that dream life. And I think as well, given that we only, and I forget about this, but was it last August? That we that gosh, I can't believe that. Because honestly, the amount we've achieved since August is utterly phenomenal.
And you know that's because we made a plan at the end of August instead of that, like, oh my god, I'm dreading the winter, summer's over. We really, in that one day at the Monkey Forest, pulled ourselves out of that and like made a mini like accountability plan for each other on like, was it 2 or 3 different WhatsApp groups we started for each other after that? And that was like gold to us, wasn't it? That was like my motivation then for like autumn, winter.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think previously as well, me and you see each other and we have these conversations and we both like vibing high by the end of the day, for want of a better phrase. But then because of life, where you are, where I am, we don't see each other that often. So sometimes we'd have a really great conversation, but then a month would go by, we'd see each other again and we'd still have a great conversation, but there was no follow-up during that time. But I think since we've started making a conscious effort to, we are going to do something, we're going to help each other do it, and we did get all those groups. I think because there's like, we speak to each other so much more, albeit by WhatsApp, but we know where we're up to and it kind of, we spur each other on.
Yeah, and it's kept like the vibe between us really high, hasn't it?
Because definitely.
And
exactly. And there's just a nice little added bonus of that. We've seen each other more often.
I know, exactly. And the girls see each other more often. Like they're bonding over the swimming now and everything. And it's just so much better, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's kind of like getting to the vibe of maternity leave again. Because we're seeing each other more often.
But without the sleepless nights.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And during the sleepless nights is not the one to start doing all this. Like, oh, you're just surviving, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, when I look back to that time as well, we didn't achieve anything, but we had a time. And it's important that you do have times in your life where you just kind of live for the moment and get through the day to day and make the day to day as best as it can be, and you're not actually going to achieve anything or move your life forward in any way. But life isn't always about that, is it? Sometimes it is about like the quieter times where you're just having fun with your friends and not achieving goals. And then at other times in your life, it's all about achieving goals. Like I feel at the moment, I'm in an absolute goal mindset at the moment, and I am smashing through the goals this year. Some with intention, and some are just really happening. So yeah, it's interesting.
It is. It's really interesting. It's really interesting time for us both as well, because I'm like on day 28 of the magic, which is like last day. So
wow, of course, because
I've got through January with that. And you've had your Malverdite journey for the last few weeks as well. So just talk about smashing January.
I know, it's been amazing. In fact, I'm going to write that down. I'm going to write down Maldives and the magic. And I think that would be a really good subject for our next episode, like what we did in January. Because I was listening to another podcast last night, and I must be a week behind. So it was all about Blue Monday and how depressing January is. Yeah. And I was like, I can't relate to that. I had an absolutely epic January. I can't believe we're at the end of it.
I know. I feel like it's flown by. I feel exactly the same as well. I'm like, this is the best January I've possibly ever had.
Yeah.
Because of goals, magic, development, me and you vibing, like just so much happening this month. And, you know, there's going to be bad months, but, you know, if the majority of months can be like that because you're working on joy and happiness and abundance, then, oh my God, bring on more months like that.
Absolutely, yeah, it has. It's been an epic January. And is this not the time to be doing all this when the weather's absolutely pants? I mean, it's a little bit better where you are, but where I am, dear God, it has rained for the whole of January. It doesn't particularly inspire you to do much. So why not do all this? Why not work on yourself? Because come summer, I will be out there every single day. I will be getting, you know, that vitamin D as often as possible. So you need to do it at the right time, don't you, as well? And when better than January?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're not talking about like burning ourselves out in January. Like I have napped a lot during that time. So we're not like toxic positivity girls who like just grind constantly at all. Like
we like our bed, don't we?
We like our bed. We like a good nap. There's a lot of chill out time in between. We work really hard on that balance for our own minds as well, don't we? And it's really important to say that it's not about like working on this 24/7 and killing ourselves for it. It's not. We are way too chilled out to do that.
Yeah, you more than me, definitely. But yeah, I'm the same. I need downtime. I need time in front of the TV watching absolute rubbish. Just out a bit and just a little bit of nap time in the afternoons as well is always good where you can squeeze one in.
Did your parents always nap when you were young then? Like you never understood why? Mine did, and I didn't understand why, but now I do.
I don't remember actually.
Oh, mine did. They were really good nappers, and I can see why now. Like it's so good if you can squeeze in a little daytime nap. You wake up like buzzing.
Oh yeah, I'm all about that. I mean, I can literally set my alarm, and I have done, for 12 minutes, and I will have a 12-minute nap, and I wake up feeling epic after it. I've always been able to do that.
Yeah, you can't beat it, can you? You really can't.
I'm thinking, can I squeeze one in after this?
It's worth a go. It's Saturday. Let's give it a go. Why not?
Absolutely. Well, that seems like a really natural place to end this for this week.
It does indeed. Let's go and have a nap, dream in some stuff for next week, and we will see people in 2 weeks' time.
Absolutely, and we will talk about our story of Maldives. If you don't know what Maldives is, it's a crystal. Look it up in the meantime, and how it's transformed my life. And Sam, you are going to talk about the magic and how it's transformed your life.
Yeah, how you can have an epic January or February, because we'll be there next time, by giving some of these things a try.
Absolutely. So you've been listening to the Manifestation Pod, and if you want to join us again, we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Manifestation Pod with me, Sam Fillingham, and Louise Marshall. Please follow, subscribe, and rate our pod. Share with friends to support two ordinary mums living extraordinary lives.